This is Plant-Based Briefing, From Couch Potato to One of the World's Fittest Men by richroll, and How a Plant-Based Diet Can Benefit Endurance Athletes' Heart Health, Performance, and Recovery by Karen Asp, both from forksoverknives.com. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson, and this is the curated content Plant-Based Podcast, where I research and get permission to narrate a variety of articles on plant-based and vegan living in about 10 minutes or less every weekday. And both of today's articles are a bit shorter, so I'm combining them both into one episode. And they tie into yesterday's episode as well on plant-based nutrition as it relates to fitness, endurance, recovery, that sort of thing. The richroll article is a success story. It's from 10 years ago, actually. He's now a very famous podcaster with a gazillion subscribers, but his success story is amazing and still relevant. And I mentioned today's articles are both from forksoverknives.com, which is an amazing website. I'm honored to have permission to share their content. They have a ton of amazing recipes. They have stories on the latest research, success stories, and of course, the world-famous Forks Over Knives documentary, which you can watch for free, and I highly recommend it. So now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. From couch potato to one of the world's fittest men, and how a plant-based diet can benefit endurance athletes' heart health, performance, and recovery, both from forksoverknives.com. From couch potato to one of the world's fittest men by richroll. Although I had been a collegiate athlete, I'd completely lost touch with health and fitness. For many years, my focus was on things I think we can all relate to, building my career as a lawyer, getting married, raising 4 kids, and just getting the bills paid. Along the way, I became sedentary without a second thought devoted to how and what I put down my throat. As I inched towards 40, my addiction to cheeseburgers, pizza, fries, and buffalo chicken wings began to catch up to me. I was 50 pounds overweight, but I continued to convince myself that I was still that fit college athlete, bulletproof to obesity and declining health, despite the fact that I was perpetually exhausted, lethargic, and depressed. Never underestimate the power of denial. On the precipice of my 40th birthday, I was blessed with a moment of clarity. It was very late, and as my family slept, I walked upstairs to go to bed after a long night of mindless television on the couch, eating fast food. My chest tightened, and I was so winded I came close to passing out. As I watched my wife and our little baby girl sleeping in my bed, I was gripped by fear. I was reminded of the heart disease that runs in my family and how it took my grandfather's life at an early age. I was face to face with the reality that I was no longer fit and youthful, but very overweight, terribly out of shape, and more likely than not, facing the strong likelihood that I would suffer the same fate that stole the young life of my grandfather. The next day, I formulated a plan to take back my health. My plan started with embarking on a 100% whole food plant-based diet. When I began this journey, I had no desire whatsoever to return to competitive athletics. My goal was simple: avoid a heart attack, lose some weight, feel better. If you had told me 5 years ago that I would be standing where I am today as a successful ultra-endurance athlete at age 45, I would have said you were completely insane. Yet against all odds, I have clocked 2 top finishes at the Ultraman World Championships. Widely considered one of the most grueling endurance races on the planet, Ultraman is a 3-day double Ironman distance triathlon that circumnavigates the entire Big Island of Hawaii. Kicking off with a 6.2-mile ocean swim, it's followed by 270 miles of cycling and culminates with a 52.4-mile run. In 2009, I was actually the race leader, holding a 10-minute lead over a professional field of hand-selected athletes from all over the world. I ultimately finished in 6th place due to a bicycle crash on day 2 that took me out of podium contention. In 2010, fellow ultraman jasonlester and I accomplished something no other human being had ever even attempted, completing 5 Ironman distance triathlons on 5 different Hawaiian islands in under 7 days. I do not describe these accomplishments to massage my ego, but to underscore just how radically my life has changed. The difference is nothing short of miraculous. The point is this: everything, and I mean everything, that I have achieved as an endurance athlete begins and ends with how I significantly changed my perspective on food. Of course, not everyone has the desire to compete in the Ultraman, but everyone wants to be healthy. In my opinion, a whole food plant-based diet is a critical first step on this journey towards taking your life back. My message is this: when the body, mind, and spirit are healthy and balanced, anything is possible. The power to change exists within you. It's never too late and is there for the taking. Believe me, if I can do it, you can too. To read more about Rich's incredible journey, check out his inspirational memoir, Finding Ultra, Rejecting Middle Age, Becoming One of the World's Fittest Men, and Discovering Myself. How a Plant-Based Diet Can Benefit Endurance Athletes' Heart Health, Performance, and Recovery by Karen Asp. From Olympic skater meaganduhamel to ultramarathoner scottjurek, numerous athletes have demonstrated that you don't need to eat meat to compete. Now, a new review published in the journal Nutrients supports what these athletes already know. A plant-based diet not only meets athletes' nutritional needs, but also gives endurance athletes an edge when it comes to heart health as well as performance and recovery. The report, titled Plant-Based Diets for Cardiovascular Safety and Performance in Endurance Sports, comes on the heels of studies that have found that endurance athletes have a higher than average risk for diseases of the heart, including atherosclerosis and myocardial damage. According to one study cited in the review, 44% of middle-aged and older endurance runners and cyclists had coronary plaques, which can increase heart disease risk. However, a plant-based diet can offset these risk factors. A low-fat vegetarian diet is the most effective dietary pattern clinically shown to reverse plaque. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, which had several staff members serve as study co-authors, said in a statement. Atherosclerosis is also triggered by high blood pressure, diabetes, and excess weight, all of which a plant-based diet addresses. Meanwhile, endurance athletes on a plant-based diet often have lower body fat, which can give them a performance advantage. Athletes with lower body fat increase their aerobic capacity, which is the ability to use oxygen to fuel exercise, says Susan Levin, MD, a board-certified specialist in sports dietetics and Director of Nutrition Education for Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Studies show that athletes on a plant-based diet increase their VO2 max, the maximum amount of oxygen they can use during intense exercise, leading to better endurance. And because carbohydrates are the main source of fuel during aerobic exercise, a plant-based diet, which is carbohydrate-rich, gives athletes the fuel they need. The other bonus with a plant-based diet? Study authors note that eating plants increases blood flow and tissue oxygenation while reducing oxidative stress and inflammation, all of which can aid athletes' performance and recovery. Levin stresses that these findings have relevance not just for professional or Olympic-level athletes. Everyday athletes experience the same boost from a plant-based diet as gold medal Olympians, Super Bowl winners, and Wimbledon champions, Levin says. The performance and recovery benefits provided by the fiber, carbohydrates, antioxidants, and other nutrients found in a plant-based diet are the same whether you're running a 5K or a marathon. You just listened to From Couch Potato to One of the World's Fittest Men by Richroll, and How a Plant-Based Diet Can Benefit Endurance Athletes' Heart Health, Performance, and Recovery by Karen Asp, both at forksoverknives.com, and I'm your host, Marian Erickson. And I was so excited to see Richroll's success story on Forks Over Knives. His podcast was instrumental in my finding out about whole food plant-based eating, my plant-based and then vegan journey, the whole thing. He is amazing, a great interviewer. His podcast episodes are very inspirational. And I also loved his book, Finding Ultra. I'll put a link to it in the show notes as well, and as always, I put a link to these original posts in the show notes too. And please share this episode with anyone who might benefit. Word of mouth and direct sharing via social media is one of the best ways to get the podcast to grow. And this podcast is just my service, my passion project. I just really want to reach as many people as possible with all this amazing content that's out there. So thank you for sharing, and thanks for listening.